Where do we stand in terms of the rate of infections in the US and the measures being put in place to try and curtail this virus and get testing as well done across the country?
Tom, President Trump saying that the virus projections are very sobering. He is now admitting that this is not the flu, that it's vicious. In fact, Dr. Birx, one of his experts in the task force, citing an estimate that U.S. deaths would be between 100,000 and 200,000, even with the most stringent mitigation measures in place. Currently, the United States standing at around 3,000 deaths. Another projection from the University of Washington saying that by April 15th, the death count is expected to peak, and we'll see more than 2,200 Americans dying every day. New York City deaths already topping 1,000.
Yeah, those are terrifying numbers, aren't they, for many Americans out there. In terms of the economic steps that President Trump and his team are putting in to try and mitigate the impact of this, what are we hearing? What is the latest?
President Trump calling on Congress to provide $2 trillion for U.S. infrastructure, one more phase in his handling of the coronavirus outbreak and its impact on the economy. Take a look at this tweet from the president today saying that with interest rates for the United States being at zero, this is the time to do our decades-long awaited infrastructure bill. It should be very big and bold, focused on jobs and rebuilding the once great infrastructure of our country. Of course, very much needed. The World Economic Forum this year ranked the United States 13th in matters of infrastructure. Now, we have seen reports that the president might have approved a proposal pushed by some businesses to delay payment of certain tariffs by 3 months. The order wouldn't apply to Chinese goods or duties on metals, but the president saying that he hasn't done anything on tariff payment deferrals.
Sherry, well, you know that policymakers in Washington are working on additional stimulus measures, potentially another bill, following that $2 trillion, of course. And maybe now, if President Trump wants to see infrastructure put back on the table, that is where the focus is going to be. But what are the likelihoods, what are the chances that policymakers in Washington will be able to align on an issue of infrastructure and get spending measures around that issue on the table and signed off by the president?
The reason that we have so much skepticism about another infrastructure bill is the fact that the president has touted this as a key measure during his campaign. Now, we're talking about years of talk on an infrastructure bill, but then any hopes for federal bill ended last May when Democrats said the president walked out of a meeting on this $2 trillion proposal unless the Democrats stopped investigating him and his administration. Now the president sort of using this outbreak to try to unite the country and try to work with the Democrats. So we'll see what happens at this point. We're already seeing the impact and the pressure that local governments are facing. We're talking about big fiscal losses, given that we're seeing restaurant stores being shut. San Francisco coming out with one of the most detailed forecasts showing that they may lose as much as $1.26 billion of tax revenue over the next 2 years.